as well. Or as I speak of her, she's walking up on stage. Let's welcome YB Elizabeth Wong, who is the chair of the FOI task force.
Just to brief everyone about the background of how this whole enactment came about, or the bill. Sometime in May last year, a group of NGOs came together and had a meeting with the Menteri Besar. So during that meeting, a number of issues were raised, and the conclusion was that we needed some task force to address many of these issues. It included Aboriginal rights, Orang Asli rights, the environment, on women, on squatters, public housing, and one of the issues, or one of the key concerns brought by the civil society was on freedom of information in the state. This topic happens to be Tan Sri Khalid's, you can say is very close to his heart, because about 2 years before the general elections of 2008, he was actually quite involved in this whole area. He had had a few meetings with the Bar Council and CIJ, Center for Independent Journalism. I was going to say investigative journalism. See, public office makes your brain go a bit soft. And one of the things that we said was that if and when we are in a position to gain state power or the federal government, this would be one of the first few acts that we will put up. So I'm very pleased to say that it is I would say one of the major legislative reforms that the Selangor state government is embarking on. Just to let everyone here know some of the principles involved in freedom of information. One is that we believe in the principle that a government should have maximum disclosure. This is very different from the practice that we have in Malaysia, where the principle thus far practiced by especially the federal government is no disclosure if possible. So it's quite a paradigm shift, a marked departure from what's being done today. And I think also it takes quite a bit of getting used to. First, I think officials from public bodies may not be very used to being so open. Secondly, I think even legislators, both old and new, because it's not really been done before. But I would like to state that if you look at the countries who have had Freedom of Information Acts enacted in their legislatures, it's in fact the norm. Malaysia is one of the few countries in the world which doesn't have a Freedom of Information Act.
Now, as a resident of Selangor, as a ratepayer, as a voter in this state, I am impatient to see change. And as a journalist, I'm even more impatient to see this FOI bill come into force, because that will mean that journalists will become more effective in reporting the needs of citizens that they serve. Alright. I would argue that the Selangor government does not even have to wait until the law is passed before they begin. There are many ways in which FOI principles can be put into practice, and I just want to throw out some ideas, some of which have already been mentioned earlier today for our discussion here. What this will do is it will bring into creation the infrastructure, which is in a mess right now, the management systems of information, which are also in a mess right now, and it will create the attitudinal changes among people who are in charge of giving out information. You need to have all of this in place so that by the time the law comes into effect, you actually have saved a lot of time, transition time. we don't have to then wait another year to put all of this into place and then make the law very effective. And we try to prevent the mic from falling. So based on FOI principles of maximum disclosure, if I'm not mistaken, and Dipendra can correct me on this, the Menteri Besar of any state already has powers, discretionary powers, to declassify documents that are not listed in what is known as the scheduled list of the OSA. The scheduled list goes into matters of international relations, defense, cabinet records and discussions, state exco records and discussions, among a few others here. So to me, what this means is that the state can already begin declassifying things like draft laws, which have automatically been placed under secrecy by the federal government. You could declassify budgets at all levels, district, local, and at the state. You could declassify loan agreements, contract documents, local council records and discussions, and as well as privatization agreements that are signed by the state. Okay? The principle of routine publication. This is something where most public bodies have already made a head start in the last 10 years or so, where they regularly put out information and tell you how to apply for services, what you do when you want to extend your house, how do you set up a restaurant. All of this information is there. What the state could already begin to do is to review the quality and the quantity of such information to make it more useful to citizens. And finally, why not reward innovation? Between now and 2010, get people in the public bodies to come up with proposals, projects that will push innovation, that will push openness. Reward them. September 28th is Right to Information Day, which is observed around the world. Let us start maybe even this year by looking at who has come up with the most feasible proposal and then put resources into them so that they are able to carry out their proposals. Now, all this is within the reach of the state, I believe that. But while it works on this, the rest of us, in the media, in the public, have unfinished business to work on as well. FOI cannot exist in a vacuum. For it to be most effective, it has to go alongside press freedom, as Azreen has said this morning. So I suggest that we continue to push and that we continue to demand press freedom. The World Press Freedom Committee has said this, and I believe it too. The freer the press, the freer the people. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Padma, for reminding us that press freedom goes hand in hand with freedom of information, as well as challenging the state government to start out with policies that actually promote openness and transparency even before we have the actual enactment out.
Mainly, my point just now was three major points. First is the trust that will build the trust from the public towards the civil servants. When the older practice, when they have to hide or don't give the information, now whatever information the public seek from them, they have to give them. So this process, if take place, then this will increase the trust, from the public towards the civil servants. And the other one is also corruptions. Last time when you need certain information, you need to be influential. You need to have contacts, insights, or sometimes it's go to the extent of bribing someone to get some information. Now all that doesn't have to work that way. Now, like, the information is open, the public need to certain information to just get it from any civil servant.